In here already. Awesome. So I hope everybody's had a great Sunday. I know I was very busy today. Um, you know, hope everybody was enjoying the pre-Memorial day, so to speak. So today, Jen and I, we went down to the Jersey Shore. We went to Old Smithville, Old Smithville Village, which is kind of like a shopping area, but they have a lot of other cool stuff there. And we were hanging out and we were watching this Merlin's Magic. It was like a play they were doing. We thought it was more like a Renaissance fair, but it turned out to be more of a play. But it was kind of cool. And we hung out there for a bit, and I mean that was like a 2.5 hour drive down and like 2.5 hours back. Hey Ron, hey Aaron. I think though the highlight for me was we got to stop at the Bon Jovi service area here in New Jersey. So, oh, let me move that. That moved up a little bit, didn't it? All right, so that won't be as bad. So, in New Jersey, they renamed a bunch of the service areas. And if you're not from this area, the service areas are all, like, they're in the middle of the highway. Highway splits goes around them, and they've got these big, they're multi restaurants in there, fast food type places, restrooms, and just places to hang out. Usually there's like an arcade in there for the kids and whatnot. And they named one after Bon Jovi. So, with that being said, you walk in and they've got a whole wall with a giant video screen playing all kinds of Bon Jovi stuff, and they've got Bon Jovi memorabilia there, and it was kind of cool, especially if you're of that age and you're of that era. It was great. It was like, all right, cool. They took an old rest stop, and I don't remember what it was called prior to becoming the Bon Jovi, because it's been the Bon Jovi rest area for a while, but we stopped there, and it's kind of cool, and grabbed the coffee because I was literally falling asleep, much like I am now. Man, because last night, I did the live last night, and then I realized I forgot to edit the video that was coming out for this morning. So I wound up staying up really late editing that video, uploading it and whatnot, and I didn't wind up going to bed till like 4 in the morning, and then I was up at 8. So I'm running off like 4 hours of sleep, and we were on the go all day today. Hey, Roger. Yeah, I am doing well. I am doing well. I was a little sleepy before. Hey, Neil. So I thought I wasn't going to make it because I was falling asleep on the couch, and my wife was like, "What time are you going on?" And I was like, "Oh, it's time to start moving and getting set up." So, wait, my audio what? No. Does it have a crackle? I wonder why. Shouldn't. Let's check the mic. Is it because of the location of the mic? Is that any better? Let me know. I just moved the mic a bit. Yes. Okay, good. Good. It's probably the placement. Hey, Kathleen Smith. Welcome in. Aaron, how are you doing tonight? And by the way, to combat the sleep, I am armed with coffee. So, we picked up, when we were at the rest area, we picked up Starbucks on the way home. And so, that's like half of what my Starbucks was, and I added more coffee to it because, coffee. So, how many people were here? I know some of you were here last night, some were not. And, last night we were showing off this cold steel, this little guy. Hey, Rolf. This cold steel with the, with the interchangeable blade. This thing's kind of cool. I went online today. I was looking at, hey, Robert, Henry G, what's going on? I was looking at some of the other blade options, you know. It might be. I moved it down a little bit. I moved the microphone down. Let's move it down just a little bit more. So hopefully that's better. But so like I said, I was online. I was looking at some of the other blade options for this, and they have Tanto blades for this. They have a clip point, like a buoy blade available for this. And for those who weren't here last night, this is really cool. This blade pops right out. You just push the triad lock down. That comes right out. And then you can interchange the blade. And here I have the serrated blade. Mind the Milton, what's up? You just pop that in, and there you go. And that is a rock solid lockup. Despite the fact that you can interchange the blade, there's no up and down or right or left. So, kind of cool stuff. But like I said, I was online checking these out, the blades today, and they do come in a three. They usually come in a 3-pack, and they're around $19 or so for the 3 additional blades. So what's nice is you can carry this and carry a few different blades on you. If you dull out the blade, just swap it out. Don't even have to worry about sharpening it. You know, and these are solid blades. They're not like, you know, like some of them have like a razor type of blade, like a scalpel blade. No, these are a solid blade. So I may have to order some of the other blade options for this, but kind of cool. And it's a triad lock. And hey, SC Knife Monkey, what is up? You know, so it's just kind of a cool little option. You know, nice little handy unit. By the way, if anybody hasn't seen, Smoky Mountain Knife Works today has a huge sale on certain SOG knives and cold steel. And I'm talking about some really good pricing. Like they have the, I think it's the Scout 1, which is the 3.5-inch blade, you know, spear point blade with SV35N steel and aluminum handles. Those things usually sell for $100. They're about $81 right now on Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and they qualify over $65, so it's free shipping on those as well. When you go on, you don't actually see the price until you put it in the cart. They've got some really, really good bargains on there. The cold steel, the AD10 light, that thing's usually around what? I forget, like usually around $90. No, yeah, that's usually around $100 too. Or like, yeah, something like that, like $95. When you throw it in the cart, it brings it down to like $70. So, I mean, those are some great deals. And they have a lot of other stuff. They have a lot of nice SOGs in there as well, which is kind of cool. And just a good bunch of good deals going on. Also, too, if you go to, who is it? Off-Grid Knives. If you use the code Memorial15, you get 15% off of everything they have right now. And I personally like Off-Grid Knives. I know some people don't like them because some of their knives are assisted. I don't have a problem with assisted knives. You know, I was listening to G-Ball yesterday, and he was saying the same thing. He doesn't have a problem with assisted knives, and I don't either. I know some people do, but off-grid, man, those things are built like tanks. You know, I have one here. Okay. And these things are just monsters. That Warncliffe. So, like I said, I love this knife. And super grippy, man. All the off-grid knives are super, super grippy. And I'm a huge fan of the Warncliffe. I mean, the jimping on this is amazing. And like I said, with the code right now, Memorial15, you can get 15% off on everything. So I like some of their fixed blades. They have that new EDC, I forget what the name of it is, but that EDC fixed blade that comes in at like 5 inches. That thing's a beast. Yeah, absolutely. You know, but yeah, there are, I mean, for this holiday weekend, there are some really good bargains on there. Amazon too has some great pricing on some stuff. But Larry Force, David, what's up, my brother? Speaking of Larry Force, friends, I got to show you. I meant to show you this last night in the live stream. Larry is one of my coworkers, and he does some great work with resin printing. And we've been working a little bit together, mostly him, me giving him the plans, but he printed up these 3D lanyard beads. These are resin printed. So we have the alien face here. I don't have all of them in here. We've got these little devil heads that he made. Little devil skulls. They're awesome. I have to dye them, but these are great lanyard beads. And then, since I am a huge, huge Star Wars fan, he printed up this one. I don't know if you can see that, but that is a Stormtrooper helmet. So, shout out to my buddy Larry out there for that. And I mean, that one's just awesome. So I'm gonna dye these, Rip dye them. I think I'm gonna do obviously the aliens. I'm gonna do in green. This is not, even though it looks like this is not a glow resin. If it was, it would be really super cool. But I'm gonna dye these green. The little devil head, I'm gonna probably do red. And the Stormtrooper, I'll just probably keep in that color. Maybe do some, just like a quick black wash on it, just to highlight, you know. But, so those are really cool. He did some others. He did, they're in the other room, and I don't feel like going to get them right now, but he did some like some small beads. He did a Wi-Fi bead that has the Wi-Fi symbol on it. He did the Fallout, the Vault logo for me, which is kind of cool, you know. And anybody who knows me, Fallout is my favorite video game series of all time, from the original all the way up to Fallout 76. What? We'll have to figure that out, Larry. Larry, you should really get some glow resin. That would be awesome. Larry's also he's also going to resin print a sheath for me. So Victorinox has the really inexpensive paring knives, and that's cool, Larry. Yeah, definitely. But Victorinox has these paring knives that are like yay big, and a lot of people make sheaths for them. But I found a plan online to 3D print those. So Larry's going to print me up one of those, and I'm going to grab one of those because those knives are only like $11. I think it'd be cool to have one of those on a sheath, especially for camping and whatnot. You know, we're trying different things here. But did everybody watch the video that I dropped this morning with the giveaway opening that from the giveaway that I won from Titanium Justin? That was a cool video. You know, you guys watched it at all. Justin hand painted these EDC notebooks that I just absolutely love. So shout out to Justin for that. And you guys, I'm pretty sure almost all of you guys have subscribed to his channel at this point. And just a reminder, anybody who has a link, drop it as a comment. So that way, whoever isn't subscribed could jump in and, subscribe. And I was out on the road today, so I missed Barbie's live stream. I'm sure that went pretty well. Rolf, did it go well? I'm sure it did. You guys are always a fun hang. The only live stream I was on today, I was on a little bit in Meredith's earlier today. MPG EDC. She does a fun show, and she's going to do it earlier from now on, from what I was gathering today. And the very first one this morning, I got up at 8 o'clock, and Bushcraft Rebooted was on. Hey, Joe. Glad you're here. And I jumped onto his just to say hello, give him a thumbs up, just to show my support. I knew I was jumping in the shower and taking off at that point, but I wanted to definitely get in there. Hey, Brian, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, wasn't that really cool, Brian? That skull notebook, man. Like I said, I'm gonna actually frame that because I love that painting so much. I'm gonna put that in a small frame. I think it's gonna look awesome. I've got a lot of artwork that is not hung. I've got stuff here tucked away that either needs to be hung or if we wind up moving, going to go into the new place. But I have some really cool artwork that some of my friends did, stuff that we bought over the last few years that just never got hung up. So that kind of thing. I like a lot of art. I was an artist myself. So Ron Crow is back. But so the other knives that were on sale was I showed this one off the other day, last week. And this was the Cohesion. Well, this one I think had the coupon that brought it down from like 20 bucks down to 15. But their other knives were on sale as well for the same price. This is just a damn nice knife. Excellent lockup. You've got the crossbar lock, D2 steel, with that Persian style blade that almost is like a harpoon as well, because of the way that jimps and ramps up right there. Fantastic knife. I mean, for the price, man, I can't see how you can go wrong. Unless this really isn't D2, but I have a feeling it is. Well, Anthony, did you bring enough burger and tots for everyone? Share with the group. Come on. We're all Americans here. We love our burgers and tots. Yes, we do. Burgers and tots. But yeah, I this is a knife that I recommend highly. That red brown micarta is just really beautiful. So I know a bunch of people were cooking out today, and I know a bunch of people are going to be cooking out tomorrow. Today I made pasta and meatballs in a meat sauce for me and the missus. And tomorrow I think we're going to do hot dogs and hamburgers. You know, nice. So that's what we're going to do, the all American thing tomorrow, I guess. You know, so I think so the lineup for the last 3 days is I made some really great steaks on Friday. No, Saturday. Sorry, yesterday I made steaks, and then yesterday or even today, I guess I made the pasta. And tomorrow's gonna be hot dogs and hamburgers. Yeah, yes. So Book Dragon is my wife Jen, and we refer to her as, or as you guys have referred to her as Misadventure. So she just stated we have enough leftovers, which is kind of cool. Yep, can never go wrong with steaks and grilled chicken. You know. Yep, burgers and dogs. Just seems like the right thing to do tomorrow. Especially I think the weather's gonna be really nice. I mean, today turned out to be a decent day. We had a couple of periods where it got cloudy, but and it was a little wasn't on the cold side. It was like low 60s today, and it was pretty sunny. But we did have a couple of periods where just a couple of stray rain clouds came through. But tomorrow's supposed to be in the low 70s and sunny, so we're gonna take advantage of that. Enjoy the outside. It's rained so much here over the last week, man. I just can't deal with the rain anymore. And I'm a person generally likes rain, but yeah, no. Larry, you're about 2 weeks too late for the man versus the gorilla versus 100 men argument. That swept the internet 2 weeks ago, and we didn't even talk about it at work. We should have. That's a whole nother story. So Larry is my IT guy at work, and my friend Larry here is just a little bit off the wall, and I mean that in the best of ways. He comes up with some of the funniest shit I've ever heard of in my life. He'll throw things at me, and I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But not in a bad way, in fun. Like he just comes up with some crazy shit, And I think it's because he's an IT guy. We hide him in a room by himself, basically. So, but yeah, he's a lot of fun to work with. Well, you know, we don't want to fight gorillas. Well, I've seen Planet of the Apes. It doesn't work out well for humans. Nope, not at all. And I'm not talking about the CGI modern Planet of the Apes. Those suck. I'm talking about the real deal Planet of the Apes from the 60s and 70s. Yep. They blew it up. Damn you! Damn you to hell! Yes, that kind of Planet of the Apes. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yep, yep. So, what's up, Burnt Relic? You know what? Let me turn that because I'm seeing that on the camera too. Oops. Let's see. That is that better? Yeah, that's better. All right. There, we fixed that. Hey, Burnt Relic, you want to see something really cool? This is a guitar I have from, I want to say like 19, somewhere in the 80s I got this one. It is a very rare edition. Check this out. Check this Les Paul out. It's an amber bird's eye maple. Look at the finish on that. It's just an amazing, amazing guitar. And this was only out for 1 year. And man, well, first of all, it weighs a ton because it's a Les Paul. But that finish was only out for 1 year. I made the mistake of selling this guitar, and then about 4 years ago, I was able to track down another one. And the one I had prior actually had a nicer top than this one, although this one's pretty sweet as well. But this one in here kind of has this wood grain there that just throws off the bird's eye just a little bit, where my other one was a perfect top. But man, what a finish on this. And I know, Burnt, you're into your guitars like me. So I know, Rolf, you're into guitars as well. But man. So like I said, that's a rare one that you just don't find. Hey, Relentless Blades, what's going on? Welcome in. We're just hanging out, talking knives, talking whatever. We're talking food. We'll talk about it all. Doesn't matter. It's all fun. Do I have a red elephant toe? No. I don't even know what a red elephant toe is. Yeah. Nope. No idea what you're talking about. SC Knife Monkey. So, SC Knife Monkey. Let me show you something. This is No, I don't know what that one is. Ah, I got you. Ralph, we won't be giving away guitars on the channel anytime soon. You know. But SC Knife Monkey, this is the, whoops, if I can get it open. This is the Militar that I was talking about. I swapped out the handles, the inserts. So this one is completely olive green. But this is the one that I have up for trade. This is what we were talking about on Instagram. So let me know if you're interested. We'll figure something out on it. But Nice. Neil, I don't know that model, but you want to see? All right, I got. Since we're talking guitars, I'll show you an interesting Ibanez. This one. Oh. Check this puppy out. This is an Ibanez Iceman from 1978. This is a koa wood in an amber finish. They only made 450 of these. So this one, like I said, it's from 1977. No, 70. Yeah, 77, and they only made 450. And I don't even know how many of them are still around. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I bought that off a friend in the late 80s who was in a glam rock band. And I've had it ever since. And it's a great guitar. And what I paid him for that, at the time, I guess neither one of us knew what it was. It wasn't until years later that I looked it up and found out how rare that guitar was and what it's worth. And I've never told him because I don't have the heart to tell him that I could probably sell that right now for about $3,000. And I think I only paid him like $250 for it. So it's one of those, and we're still really great friends to this day, but I've never told him how much that guitar is worth. So I know he's not watching. Well, Larry, because I'm in. Larry, you got to come by one day. You love this room. Like on this shelf, there's all action figures and Star Wars and Star Trek books and Dungeons and Dragons stuff and all kinds of stuff. You've got Funko Pops. There's the Joker. You know, there's just all kinds of stuff. We've got a. I don't want to pull that out, but we got all kinds of really fun stuff all around. You know, we've got next to my computer on top of one of my speakers, we got Super Mario. So yes, this is like a kind of a big kids room. You know, a lot of collectibles in here. Well, Ron, what that is it's actually two Militars that are. I bought two, and I took the green scales, the green inserts off the black one, and this had the black and color party streamers, which I didn't think looked great on the olive green. So I wanted this one all olive green, and I put that one, put the party streamers onto the black one. And let me grab that. Hang tight, hang tight. I'll grab that. That's going to be in this case here. 5 minutes later, and there she blows. All right. So this is the inserts that were on the other one, but I thought these just didn't look good on the olive, and so I went with the party streamers on the black, which I think looks so much better. So yeah, that's what I think too. You know, but so that was the swap. And in fact, what I still may do, Knife Monkey, I might actually swap the blades on this and put the black blade here and go with the silver blade on here. I haven't made up my mind yet. I will let you know if I do that, Knife Monkey, because I think that's the last thing I want to do with these. Because I think this in all black would just look pure fire, you know. But haven't made up my mind on that yet. I've been thinking about it, you know. I have some, speaking of modifying, so yes, exactly, exactly, Rolf. So you guys saw this in the unboxing. I think I showed this off before. This is the one I won from Titanium Justin. Well, I found out that Flightanium makes full-size scales for this that don't have these little finger grooves, and it actually makes it a little longer, and it's a chunkier scale, and they're really dirt cheap. So I ordered a set. I have no idea when they're going to come because it's the holiday weekend. They were the ones I got were the black micarta, and they were on sale. Hey Lou. So that's going to be a fun one to do. I mean, these just unscrew. What I don't know is if the lanyard is going to still work with that, but the ones they have actually have a bigger lanyard hole. So, which I don't know if I'll need if I've got the bigger handle. The lanyard on this really makes it a 4-finger grip, where the new scales are going to be a 4-finger grip and they're going to be meatier. So that's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to that. Man, have you guys know I have the Flightanium beef, and that's a great knife. I really like that a lot. But there's so many things you can upgrade on it. There's titanium scales that they make every accessory under the sun, including it has a D2 blade, but they make an S90 blade for it, S90VN steel blade. That's like $70, which is actually more than what the knife costs. But you can take that knife from a very basic D2 knife and add titanium scales to it, and the S90VN steel, change the color of the studs, change everything on it. It's just a fun one. Um, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. You're probably right if I do that, but I would probably do the whole inner liner anyway. I just wouldn't swap the blade. I would swap the inner liner too on these. So I think that would make it the easiest way, because I don't want to have a mismatch. But yeah, I mean, that'll be easy enough just to swap out. So essentially, what I'd really be doing is just swapping the scales off of each knife, completely. But that's a project for a different day. If I wasn't falling asleep today, I might have done it this afternoon when we got home, or this evening when we got home. But I didn't get around to it. It's just very sleepy. Very sleepy I was. You know, Even this knife, I want to do some things to it. This is the Boker that I won from Aries EDC. I love the blue pivot collars on here. So I already have blue studs for this. They're in a box over there. So I'm going to put matching blue studs right here. But I'm going to get a blue winch clip for that. And I think that'll just make this knife really pop. Having those blue accents with the blue clip, you know. But I think that'll be a nice little upgrade. And this is a really kind of cool knife. I mean, you could definitely tell they were going bug out all the way on this. It's their version of a bug out. And it does, though, have full liners in it. If I could get those on camera, but it does have full. No, actually, it doesn't. No, these liners actually kind of, just from what I can see, they go up this way. They go about halfway. They go out further than the bug outs, so you don't get that, because they do go a little further. You don't get that compression right there. But I think it's just a cool kind of knife. Like I said, it's their take on it. D2 steel. Like I said, I won this one from Aries EDC's giveaway, and I like this so far. I carried it yesterday. Even has a decent sharpening choil there. So I'm kind of mixed on Boker. What do you guys think about Boker? I have the two Kalashnikovs. The one's the auto, and one is the manual. I like those, but I've heard there are some quality issues with Boker. None that I've had so far. See, I know Lou, you're a steel snob, but a properly heat treated D2 is fantastic. I don't care what anybody says. You know, you're you're never going to convince me anything other than a properly treated D2 with a proper hardness is going to be fantastic. But you know, it's going to hold an edge. It's going to be tough. Does it have the corrosion resistance? No. But hey, Kelly, welcome in. But I'm not worried about the corrosion resistance because a slight coat of oil, on the blade, and I basically wipe my knives down after every time I use them. I don't know. I don't know what would be really the softest metal. You know, most knife steels are fairly tough. Some are tougher than others. You know, like an ABL is going to be tough, have great edge resistance, edge retention, but again, can corrode. But if you're looking for something that's a workhorse type of steel, ABL can't be beat, you know? And in fact, that's why, no, just check out Larry Thomas's Knife Nerds website. D2 actually does pretty well. I disagree with you on that. You know, D2 does very well in edge retention and it does well in toughness. The only thing it lacks is corrosion. Again, go to Knife Nerds website. Read Larry Thomas's, information on there. But, you know, to each his own. That's why they make different blade steels. You know, I mean, I was listening to G Ball yesterday. I don't know if I know some of you guys were in G Balls yesterday, and he was talking about 14C. You know, but 14C28N is a fantastic blade steel. I forgot who was on yesterday with G Ball. I know it's again, Lou. That's not necessarily true. That depends on the company. I would trust Kaiser's D2 any day of the week that ends in Y. You know, they do a great job with it. Some yeah, like a Ganzo, maybe not so much. But some your reputable companies like Kaiser, absolutely trust their stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I only have one Remet, so and that's the Canyon. And that's true too. Kelly's right. The new Chinese stuff is way light years ahead of what it used to be, even just 5 years ago. You know, there's a reason why the Chinese companies are killing it right now out there. Why Kaiser's, Well, I would also put We knives up there, slash Civivi. I put their steel up there. No problem with that. Um, you know, it's hard to say because so many companies are doing it right. And then you have other companies like Effingro, who under the old ownership really screwed up their D2, lying about stuff that wasn't really D2 and wasn't finished to the hardness that it was. and we're making these clone knives, which they've gotten away from, which is really nice. And their new fixed blade stuff's pretty amazing and holds up really well. But, you know, I'm not a, you know, I don't think they're the minority anymore, because the problem is this, is that you don't know who's making what. Let's be honest about this. You know, we were talking about this last night. There was somebody who jumped in, was killing Wixco as a startup Chinese company. And they were saying the same thing about Ferromonster. And I'm like, geez, Ferromonster's been OEMing stuff for other companies since 2002. You know, they only launched the Ferromonster name in 2022. But for 20 years before that, they were OEMing other people's knives, including companies that, you know, you wouldn't think of. Well, in the knife world, there are a lot of, I would say, junk knives. But I'll give you a good example. So this is the Ozark Trail, the $5 Christmas knife. I dyed the scales purple, but this is a 3CR13. And 3CR13 is going to have really good corrosion resistance. And it's a pretty tough steel, but it has terrible, terrible edge retention. But it's easy to sharpen. So if you could touch it up and sharpen it real quick, I don't know if that really matters as much. I think people make way too much of a big deal about steels. You know, I think a lot of people just way overrate steels or underrate them. The reality is, a good sharp blade with good edge geometry is going to do the job for you. And let's face it, some of the super steels, like, I'm not going to lie, my favorite steel is MagnaCut. You know, no, Larry, you cannot. Um, well, I've been searching around, and a few different places on the internet have said that it was three CR13. I don't remember specifically, but I actually just did a quick Google today because I was going to make a short video on that, and I was able to confirm it in a couple of different spots. So I don't know. I don't remember where, but definitely check it. I think Reddit was one of them. There was some people who were speaking about it on Reddit that it was confirmed. But usually these cheap Ozark trails are usually a 3CR, because 3CR costs nothing to produce. And that's why they're using it. You know, it's easy to work with. But you know, getting back to MagnaCut. Hey, Malcolm. So this one here, the tactile MagnaCut. This thing's going to take forever to dull out, but it's going to be that much harder to sharpen. So with this, as I use it more and more, you know, it's important to keep this touched up. Not that it's going to need it, because MagnaCut really doesn't. I mean, I've got a bunch of knives in MagnaCut, and you guys know I switch my knives out all the time, so I never really dull out a knife. And that's the thing too. That's the other thing too. You got to consider: are you using the same knife every day? If you are, then maybe, yeah, a superior steel would be worth it. But I'm never using the same knife 2 days in a row. So, in fact, most of the time I don't even. Yes, Larry, you are going to try and sell me on it. But Larry, do remember, I carry multiple knives at a time, and I have no problem attacking you. Just kidding, Larry. You know I love you. Funny thing about MagnaCut. Well, yeah, it does. It does. But what it has is some of the best corrosion resistance around, and it's a tough steel. I mean, MagnaCuts are just such a well balanced, well rounded steel. You know, I want to see this new what is it? What are they calling it? Magnamax that's coming out. But yeah, this Magnamax looks impressive to me. You know, obviously I haven't seen it; I've only read about it. But Larry, don't make me have to shut off your comments. You know, and you do have to deal with me at work on Tuesday, so just remember that. But yeah, so like I said, this Magnamax that's supposedly coming out is supposed to be like the super steel of all super steels. Mm. Speaking of S35VN, there is uh, a knife right now. I think I want to say it's on clearance at, oh, who was it on clearance with? Was it Knife? I believe Knife Center. It's a Boker, an S35VN. It's one of those really, I forget the name of it. It's a really long, thin knife with like a 3.5 inch blade. Almost looks like a katana, but it's a knife. And they were clearancing those out for like $49. You know, I'm not into that really thin, blade like that, but it looks really kind of cool. You know, I know some of you guys were here last night, so this is going to be repetitive, but I really like this guy. This is the Kaiser Groom. Really kind of cool looking fixed blade. Measurement, rating. 100%. But this is a cool knife. Real slicey, you know, knife. You got that choke up point, but you have to be careful. I caught myself twice now on it. That choke up point, if you go too far up, you're actually going to catch yourself right there on that little edge, and it's sharp. So you kind of just got to be careful with that. But I really like this thing. It's just kind of cool, really cool looking. But these were on clearance right now on Amazon because they discontinued this knife, and they make it with an Altum. They make it in this blue jean micarta. And hey, 1 minute knife review, welcome in. But what's nice is when they ship this, they ship it with the black G10 as well. So if you don't like the micarta or the Altum, whichever one you order, you can easily swap it out. And it comes with the pancake sheath with your tech lock on it. You know, I know the tech lock's kind of big for this, but since I scout carry it on the back of my belt, it's fine. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. Wow, we're 48 minutes in already. It feels like we just started. Feels like we just started. So you want to see something kind of cool? This is that Workos flashlight I was showing you guys the other night. But when you turn this on, right? I'll just put it in very low mode, and then you turn it off, right? It'll ramp up, right? And you can turn it off. Oops, let's get it off. I don't know if you could see, but it goes into like a ghost mode. Let's see if I can get it to go. Yes. So when you turn it off, it goes through this like kind of color to affirm that it's turning off. It turns different colors, red, green, and blue, and then it'll turn itself off, which is kind of cool. Because when you have it on that low, like 1 lumen mode, it's hard sometimes to see if it's on or off. So that's how you know for sure. It's a nice positive uh, signal there to let you know it's actually turned off. But what is everybody's favorite blade steel? Like I've said, mine's MagnaCut. and S35 VN. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those. I mean, I have a lot of different blade steels, you know, but I think when it comes to fixed blade knives, ADCR 13 is really great. ABL is fantastic. D2, I don't prefer. This is where I don't prefer D2 is like on bushcrafting knives, because for me, if you're going to be bushcrafting, you're going to be out in the elements a lot, and that's where I don't think the D2 will work very well. Hold on, 1 minute knife review. I'm going to make you a mod so you can post your link, because I know who you are. I'm subscribed to you. So 1 minute knife review. Post your link for anybody who's not subscribed. He's got a really good channel. Yep. You know, like I said, for bushcrafting, it's a little different. Because like for me, bushcrafting is when I'm going to be out camping. I'm going to be out in the elements, so I want something that's a little bit more corrosion resistant. That's why, like for instance, on this Mora knife, right, I went with the stainless steel version as opposed to the carbon version. I have a carbon over there, but this one for fixed blade for bushcrafting is fine. You know, S90, yep, 10V, K390. S90 is a really good steel as well, you know, and some people will kill it, but I like magnet. I mean, I like Nitro V. Nitro V is another well-rounded steel that does a little bit of everything. It doesn't excel at any one thing, but you know, it does. It's a well-rounded steel and holds up really well. I have a lot of stuff in Nitro V, and I know some people are like, for some reason, are against it, which I don't get. You know, I don't get that at all. But like I always say, you do you, I do me. It's all good stuff. You know, as long as we have our knives and we're enjoying them, that's what matters. Now, Rolf, don't forget, watch one of his shorts and give it a comment, so that way the sub sticks. Which you guys all know, we all have channels. Ron, why Nitro V so low? I'm just curious, because no matter what chart you go on, it always rates really well, but you have it ranked as your last, and I don't get why. Maybe I'm just ignorant on it. I don't know. Yeah, Malcolm, I'm the same way. You know, 14C28. Like I gotta tell you, I have this idea for a knife in my head, and I think I want to keep it like, obviously some of the big knife channels like Knives and Metal Complex, when they did their knives. Gotcha. You know, when they did their knives, obviously they went for Holy Grail type knives and priced them as such. I think if I design a knife and put it out there, I want it to be not like a Ganzo cheap, but I want it to be a nice, like, you know, $50-$60 range. Wyoming Ventures, what's up, Sheila? Oh, I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad you're here. You know, I think if I designed a knife, I don't want to do it in D2. I want to do it in 14C28. Yeah, see, that could be, see, Ron, then that could be the thing. Since I don't do a lot of sharpening, I do, you know, where I re-edge things, I just do touch-up sharpening. So for me, it doesn't really matter as far as the way the sharpening goes. By the way, speaking of sharpening, I am considering ordering one of those blade blanks from TCAL. They've got the Agent 00, the Agent 004. They have the blade blanks for like $50. He won't sharpen them because they're a blem, and I get it, but they're just a cosmetic blem. So if you get one of those, now it doesn't come with a sheath, doesn't come with scales, but you can grab a set of scales for like $20, and then grab a set of screws. He's charging $1 for the screws, for the matching screw set. So for like $70, you have a T-cal. You just have to either make your own Kydex sheath for it or go with a leather sheath. I mean, I have probably a couple of leather sheaths that'll fit it sitting around. No, Kelly, he had them on. If you go to WhatsApp and go to the T-cal page, they were $2 for the set. So unless that's changed from last week when I looked, because he's not selling them through the website. He's only selling them on his WhatsApp. Yeah, William, you're the exact. I was about to mention you, and welcome in. Yeah, William bought one of the blanks and sharpened it, and he wrapped it with paracord, as a handle. But I'm doing well, Sheila. Hopefully everybody in the chat's doing well, But I was thinking about doing that because, T-cals, if you bought the 004, I think it's like $250. So yeah, the ones on the website are, but he's got the older screws that they don't use anymore. He's got a supply of those, and they were like $2 a set. So it comes out to like $1 a screw, Yeah, and he didn't put that out publicly. You have to be part of their Patreon, and he did a video on that, and you can only get those on WhatsApp. They're the older screw set that they used. Oh, that would be really cool. Nice antler scales. Beautiful. William, would you dye those at color, or would you leave them natural? Yeah, you have to be. Yeah, that's the other thing. You have to be a Patreon member. You can't, but to buy the blems, you can't just go on the website and get them. But I have no problem with the blems. I mean, this one was a blem, the Piranha, and you would be hard pressed to see where the blemish is on this. I mean, he said it's a cosmetic. It's nothing to do with the blade shape or the blade, but I just don't see it. I've looked up and down this thing. Nice, Kelly. And this one I actually bought even before I was a member of the Patreon. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. I reached out to them about finding out if they had any blems available, and they emailed me back and they said yes, they had one left. And they said, if you want it, we'll invoice you. And then a few days went by, they didn't invoice me. And then when I joined the Patreon, I pointed out to them on Patreon, I was like, hey, I never got that invoice. And then like later that day, they sent it to me. So because since it wasn't on the website, they actually had to create an invoice. So they're good people over there at T-cal. They are very responsive. You have questions. Even when I was swapping out the scales, I couldn't figure out, because I didn't have my tools with me, so I didn't know what size to use. And I sent them an email, and within like minutes they told me, it's a T20 on that. T20, T20, I believe. That's what he said to use. And I happen to have those, so I just didn't have them with me when I wrote the email. I wrote the email from work, but 24 people. Nice. So, what's everybody carrying? Just curious. I know we ask all the time, and you guys aren't the best at contributing to what you're carrying. I don't know why. I'm always curious because I know what I carry, but I'm always curious to see what everybody else carries. And thank you everybody who hit the like button. We have 28 likes. I appreciate that. You know, that goes so far into helping the channel. You just don't realize it. Yes, Book Dragon, we know you're not, well, I know you're not carrying this knife because it's on my table. So this is Book Dragon's knife. I've showed you guys this before. This was her grandmother's knife. This one goes back to the 40s. It's still in really great shape. That Icon knife is a very good knife. And yes, it is a copy of the Beg, but it's so close. And I know there's been speculation that maybe Beg sold them the design because Beg's never have done anything, taken any type of legal action to stop them. I mean, that was such a blatant copy. Hey, Justin, glad you're here. The paramilitary too. Oh, in Magna Cut. Nice. Malcolm, that's a nice carry. Civivi, nice. Sheila. Sog Flare, Gurry was one. Wow, you know, Neil, did you see the US ones have been discontinued and now there's a new US one that's come out, which is greatly improved over the old one. Still, but they make two versions now. One that's made overseas and one that is made here, which is the US one premium, I think they're calling it. Spyderco. Baron's Son. The MSI. Oh, nice, Justin. Anthony, how do you like the Baron's Son? Devo Fireball. Nice, Ron. Spyderco PM2. Minimalist neck knife. Nice. Pro. That's a nice carry, William. Yeah, how does that, like, I'm torn on Baron's Son because they do make a lot of their knives here in the US, but sometimes it's hard to figure out. Malibu, nice. It's hard to figure out which ones are actually made here and which ones aren't, because even like if you go to some of the websites, like Blade HQ, I actually sent them back a knife because it said country of origin on their website and it said USA. And when I got it, it clearly said made in China. So I contacted them and told them, listen, you got to either fix the listing or you got to fix the listing and I'm going to send it back because the one I specifically was looking for a knife at that point that was made in the USA. And it was a Kershaw that they were listing as country of origin USA, and it wasn't, you know. And I've noticed that now if you go through Blade HQ's website, you have to be really careful. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, they do look like they have some nice slip joints, Justin. I just don't know the quality because like I only have one Baron's Son. Brown Sugar, what's up? Hope you enjoyed your day here in New Jersey. It was really nice out. Me and the missus went down to the Jersey Shore. He was okay. Roman Craig, same here. Okay. Welcome in, Roman. Now, Ron, we Marshall from Legion of Steel was talking about at one point there was a separation in Beg Knives, so that Beg Knives is actually two companies at this point. So I didn't quite get how that whole thing worked, but apparently the company split off. So there's Beg Knives, and then there's Beg Incorporated, and they're now two different knife companies. Um, I think that's how Marshall explained it. It was a while ago he had talked about it, but here in the U.S., Bare Edge is China, and some assembled in USA. Oh, speaking of which, if you guys want to watch a great episode that explains the difference between made in USA, assembled in USA, and all that good stuff, watch the new Naps at Night episode. Um, he explained why there's what they call unconditionally made in the USA, and then there's made in USA with foreign parts, or there's different qualifications. And what he was talking about is, like, for instance, the new Lulu, that the new small or mini Lulu, that they're little Lulu, that's what they're calling it. That's totally being made in shop. But the problem is the screws they're using, they can't they don't know the origin of the screws, so they can't say um, completely made in USA, even though the scales are being made here. And that was it. That I'm sorry, it wasn't the screws. It was because of the micarta they're using that the resin in the micarta is made overseas. So they can't claim it to be 100% made in USA. And he goes into really deep detail about what the meaning of made in USA is. Um, and he breaks it down. I mean, much better than I'm doing, obviously. And he did a lot of research into it. So that's a really good episode. That's the one they dropped on Friday. And he spends like 45 minutes explaining it, you know. William, are you still in New Jersey? Mystery of the Screws. Nice, Lou. Yes, the mystery of the screws. It was a good discussion. Yeah, absolutely. Nice, William. Sharon Brown Sugar, she's in New Jersey. Obviously, I'm here in New Jersey. I would love to get together with some of the New Jersey people one weekend, just to kind of hang out and everybody kind of get to know each other even a little bit better, you know. Or if anybody wants to, in August, there's the New York Custom Knife Show, which actually isn't in New York this year. It's in Jersey City. And I really want to go to that. So if anybody wants to meet up for that, that would be really kind of cool. Obviously, I'm not getting down to Blade Show Atlanta. Just, it's going to be way too much money, you know. You could always move back, Neil. Just saying. But, gotcha. But yeah, if anybody wants to do that in August, that's the New York Custom Knife Show. That should be a lot of fun. Yes, Justin, we absolutely. You know what? We're gonna do that. And I know I want to do a live with Ron. Um, so Ron, you're going to Blade Show though, right? If I'm not mistaken. I know. So like I said, I know a lot of people are going to. I don't think G Ball's going now. I think his housing fell through, and so he's not going to go now. Which is, I was kind of looking forward to seeing what G Ball had come up with at you know at Blade Show. Blade Show West. Oh, so you're not going to Atlanta? Okay. Oh, so that could kind of be a cool thing. Maybe we could set it up, Justin, where yourself, Ron, and me, we could all do we could do like a 3-person show. One of you guys would probably have to set that up. I don't have StreamYard, so yeah, Ron Sugar, that would be cool. You know, I think it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be different because it's going to be more custom knife makers. And at the last one I went to, the one in Lehigh Valley, we had a blast. It was a lot of fun meeting a lot of those people. Well, thanks for coming by. 1 Minute Knife Review, and everybody go over to his channel. You know, subscribe. He's got some really good stuff there, and he's not long winded because he is the 1 Minute Knife Review. So, but yeah, Justin, I'll reach out to you this week. Ron, I'll reach out to you. Maybe we'll figure it out, or maybe we'll do live with you one day, live with Justin. We'll get that going for that week, you know. But that would be a lot of fun. Boomin' Honey Ninja in the house. What's up, Blue? How you doing today? Now, Lou, it's funny you say that because I have a complete pirate's outfit because I often go to the Ren Fair as a pirate, because they are fun. So, but yes, and I've got a beautiful leather captain's hat with an octopus engraved into it, which is really kind of cool. So, um, I've often used that as my Facebook picture. So, it's 11:11. What did I miss? Yeah, I'm doing great. Absolutely. Arr. I don't really have a New Jersey accent because I didn't grow up in New Jersey, just so you know. Although I guess it does kind of, hit me at times. But I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. So I could say bathroom with the best of them. Going down to 30 Toyd and Toyd. But I try not to let my accent come out. It's going to naturally, but you know, things like the word idea, I will add the R to and go idea. Exactly, Jen. The Brooklyn will come out, no doubt. So is anybody going live during the day tomorrow? I know Mondays I'm usually at work, so I don't really catch who's live during the day. Um, you know, that's a tough one for me because I Mondays are always rough. I mean, thank God it's the holiday tomorrow, but Mondays are always rough coming back after the weekend. I don't have time to really jump in. No problem. You go to the bathroom. You have fun with that. But so who is live on Mondays during the day? I know doesn't Casey jump on at some point like every day do a little bit of a live? Yeah, I don't like I said, well, I don't know either. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be home, Ron. If I am, I'll jump on definitely, hang out in the live. Ron does Ron does a fun job with his live. He's not just a talking head like me. He'll do work and have the two cameras set up, and you can see what he's doing on the table. I haven't progressed that far yet. Um, yeah, I may wind up doing camera down and up. Well, have a great night, Malcolm. Glad you came by. Appreciate that. Definitely appreciate it. Yes, Casey the Kazoo Master is on Monday nights. And as much as the kazoo drives me nuts, it's not so much the kazoo drives me nuts. You know what drives me nuts with Casey? I mean, with Rob and his nerdy knives, is that when he's getting ready for the giveaway, somebody will give him a $2 super chat just to stop him from getting to the giveaway, and he'll do the kazoo salute, and then he'll go through the rules for the giveaway, and then somebody hits him again with the super chat, and he stops at his place, does the kazoo salute, then starts doing the rules all over again. It's hysterical. And we all know why we do it to him, because I've done it to him too. It's fun to see him stop. It's fun to watch him get out of breath while playing the kazoo. Oh, okay. Yeah, speaking of which, I got this 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 slip that I'm using for my Rough Riders is breaking in really nice. I got this one at the knife show, and I think I only paid like $6 for it. And it's a really nice leather, and it's just breaking in really well. You know what's bad with the kazoo is when I listen on Mondays, right? Because Jen and I will be watching TV, and I usually have the live stream on my phone with an earbud in, and sometimes he blows out my ear with the kazoo, you know. But but Rob's fun, He is a lot of fun. He also gets very paranoid about like, oh, we can't say this. They'll demonetize my channel. We can't do this, and I'm like, you're a little too worried, but Roman. Yeah, like I said, the kazoo is a lot, you know. Like I said, once I get monetized, we're not going to do the kazoo. We're going to do the lightsaber. That'll be much easier and much less annoying, I think. You know, I mean, I could always do this. I could always break out the coffin, the Ozzy Osbourne coffin, and play the harmonica. And for those who don't know, the only instrument Ozzy plays is a harmonica, which is why he has his own harmonica. And it does come when you purchase it in this beautiful coffin case. You have a great night, William. Glad you stopped by. But yes, this is my Ozzy Osbourne kazoo. So, but I will not annoy people like some people do with their kazoo. I think we'll just do the lightsaber. Either that or we're going to do a phaser salute. So, phaser's up there somewhere. But yeah, there's that. It's getting rather toasty in this room. I'm going to go just turn on my overhead fan. Hangout. Be right back. All right. Let's get some air spread around in here. No, we won't be taking off my pants. No, that's not at all. Yes, exactly. I would play the wizard. 100%. That's such a great harmonica part in that song. You know. It's funny. I like watching Rob's lives despite the kazoo. I don't enjoy his um, videos as much. Not because I don't think they're good, but his videos have a tendency to go long. I don't like channels who do 35 and 40-minute videos. I just can't hang around that long. I prefer videos, give me 10 minutes to 15 minutes, and even that's pushing it. I prefer like some of the channels that do like 6 to 10 minutes. You give me 6 to 10 minutes, I think you can cover things pretty thoroughly. You know, you still have to push past that 15-minute point. You kind of lose me. And sometimes I am interested, so what I will do is put the videos on 1.5 speed. Well, yeah, exactly, Lou. So what I will do, like I said, I'll put them at 1.5 speed. So, you know, you cut the time by a quarter that way. So now you've taken that 20-minute video, made it 15 minutes, and you could even do double speed, but then everybody sounds like the chipmunks. But hey, what's going on, Jesse? Welcome in. So that's a nice little tip. You can always speed up the videos if you really want to get the content. Now, what it doesn't do, it doesn't help a channel's watch time, because now you're watching the 20-minute video in 15 minutes or 10 minutes, but you're still going to get all the information you need. So just don't do that to my videos, okay? Please. My videos are short, 6 to 8 minutes, 10 at the most, I promise. But so there's that. we're getting closer and closer to monetization, folks. Um, we're not that many hours off. I figure last month we did 480 hours of watch time. If we do that this month, well, starting today, if we did that by the second week of June, we should be monetized. So there's that. If you guys really want to help out when you're, if you're not really doing anything, just go to YouTube, hit one of my playlists, and just let it play. Even if you're doing something else in the background, that would really help. So that would be great if you guys could do that. That way we can get there quicker. I got some big things planned when the channel gets monetized. I've got some ideas for some of the whatchamacallit, the emojis that are going to be pretty cool. I've got a couple of names for the different tiers. My tiers are not going to be expensive. They're probably just going to be like 99 cents and $1.99, and you'll get, well, no, what it is, you can, for memberships, okay. So there are two tiers. There's the 4,000 hour tier, which is for full monetization, which means if they embed ads in there, you're going to get a part of it. But for the first step of monetization, it's 3,000 hours, in which case then you can have your channel memberships and you can have your super chats and all that. That's the first tier. But for full monetization, you have to get to 4,000 hours. And that's when commercials play in the middle of your videos, you get the credit, or if they play at the beginning or the end, you get part of that, No, it's 4,000 for full. It's still 3,000 for memberships. Trust me, I check that daily. Yeah, but I don't think she realized, not for memberships. You only need 3,000 for memberships. It's 4,000 for complete monetization. So, and the thing is, what most people don't realize, it's not over the life of the channel. It's over the last 365 days. So if you did a lot of hours in the beginning of the year, those are going to fall off because it only tracks the last 365 days. So with that being said, most of my hours have come since October when I switched over to EDC content. So I've got to October to make the 4,000 hours. But first, let's hit the 3,000. I'll be happy with that to get, so that way we can start the memberships up. But I think that's what most people don't realize because they don't really read everything thoroughly. But it's what you've done in the last 365 days. What you did prior to that doesn't matter. And every day you move forward, it drops a day off at the other side. So if you had a lot of watch hours, all of a sudden your watch hours could drop drastically if you have done more watch hours in the beginning of the year as to where we are now. So that's important. I don't know if everybody's paying attention to that. I'm one of those people. I read everything. I need to be informed on it. So, especially since this is my channel, and I'm hoping for eventually big things. Right now, we're just a little channel, but we're growing. So, yeah, right? Could you imagine having 1 million subscribers? I mean, Melissa Backwoods has 1 million subscribers, but she's Melissa Backwoods. Right. Exactly. You need, am I correct? Maybe that's, I don't know. That may be because I got too loud there. And what I'm doing is overdriving the mic. So that's probably what happened there. But I'm a reader when it comes to, like, it's funny. I won't sit down and read a novel, but I'll read a technical journal from cover to cover, no problem. I get different type of enjoyment. Like my wife is the type of person who could at times read a 500-page book in a day. I'm never going to do that. As many books as I have, I don't read my novels and stuff all the time, and mostly I read science fiction and horror. But, you know, I have to be in the mood. Like the mood just has to hit me, and then I'll read, and I'll go on a streak where I read a lot, and then I'll go months without reading novels. But I will always, pretty much on a daily basis, read technical stuff. I enjoy that. You know, it's just the way I'm a techie geek, gadgety person. So technical stuff, I'm right there. I mean, I've got all kinds of technical manuals on these shelves here. You know, I've got that book over there on how to build lasers at home and all that good stuff. You know, my wife can tell you that. I thoroughly get into any type of activity that I'm in, and I jump in feet first, and I have to know everything about it. You know, even the knife world. I've got a ton of books out there that I've been reading on the knife world because I don't claim to know everything. I'm not even close to knowing everything, but I want to know everything. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I only recently, in the last 5 years, got rid of a my VCR, and I had probably a couple of thousand movies that I just gave away on VHS. You know, because one, they took up way too much room, and with the age of streaming, we don't really need it. You know, there are some things that I kept on DVD because they're not available to stream yet. You know, there's a bunch of like old science fiction movies that just aren't available to stream, but I have them on DVD. And I have a regular DVD player, but you know, well, that's the one thing I will say because you know, you guys know I work for the appliance industry, and there are companies now who don't supply manuals with their appliances. It's all available online for you to download. You know, companies like GE. I don't know, Ron. I don't know what's going on. Let me see if I hit the noise reduction button on here. Noise reduction. Is that any better? Oh, Ron. I mean, oh, Lou. Funny you ask. Funny you ask about that. Hold, please. Hooray for Santa Claus. Hooray for Santa Claus. I watch this movie. This is a tradition every Christmas. After my wife goes to bed, I I watch this movie every Christmas. It's my tradition. So it's just funny you ask, Lou. But yes. And I also have on my phone, there's so many bands that have done covers of the theme song for that, you know. Yes, my wife will tell you. She knows I watch that movie every year. It's great. It's so bad, it's great. And I've been watching it for years. But yeah, but I have like 10 different bands, all the way from punk rock bands to metal bands to every other band under the sun, who's actually covered the theme song. You know, I think more people know about it than people think. You know, Sheila, when I was a kid, I had that BB gun. That and the other thing I watch that is also terrible but great at the same time is the Star Wars Holiday Special, which I also have on DVD. You know, the one George Lucas would like people not to realize it still exists. But yeah, that was a cool little first BB gun that everybody got back in the day. You know, I know it's still out there. They still sell a crap ton of them, so I know it's popular. But that's the one that like every dad gives to his kid when they're like, you know, like 7 or 8 years old. Takes them out back and you know set up some targets and plunk some BBs with it. You know, but it doesn't shoot hard enough to get anybody hurt, which is really cool. Oh, it's a real hard watch, Lou. That movie is such a hard watch. First of all, if you watch it, there are so many adult themes in that kids shouldn't be watching. You know, it's so weird. I don't know what I'm sure when they were writing that they were on LSD because the story is so weird. Yes, exactly, Joe. You can't hurt anybody with him, but you can take an eye out. Yes, but oh, it's Lou. It's possibly the worst piece of garbage movie I've ever seen. But I'll watch it only because it brings back memories. I remember being a kid when they showed that on TV, and watching it, and then for years I never saw it again. And then a few years ago, I found it on a bootleg DVD, and I had to have it, and I watched it, and I was just like, it's so bad, really bad. So, but I will watch it every year just as a goof. You know, I like bad B movies. I'm one of those people. You know, I've got a ton of really bad B movies. You know, I have what is it? It's the Aztec Mummy series. So I've got Aztec Mummy versus the Robot, Aztec Mummy versus the Wrestlers, all those. Yeah, Rolf. You know, that or the was the Crossman BB gun pistol that didn't use the CO2 cartridges, so it was just one pump back, boom, fire, and literally like if you got hit in the arm, they would just bounce off of you. But those were always fun. You know, only problem is I lived in the only place I could use them back when I was a kid was when I was visiting family out in Long Island because in New York City, a BB gun is like they're considering that the same as any other gun, which is just ridiculous. Same thing with paintball. They consider paintball guns the same as other guns. And damn it, it's a paintball gun. And I loved playing paintball. I still have my paintball equipment. I just don't use it. I haven't played in years, but paintball was a lot of fun. Funny story. I don't know if my brother David's still in the chat or not, but when my parents moved to Pennsylvania, we went up there one weekend, and between my parents' house and the house that was to their left, there was this big set of woods. So me and my brother decided to play paintball one on one. And here I am in full camouflage. My brother at the time is wearing a red plaid shirt, sticks out like a sore thumb. Well, the neighbors come out and they start screaming at us, right? They start screaming at us. And I remember the yelling. They don't see me because I am in full camouflage. They see my stepbrother and they're like, young man, you can't play here. That's not your property. And he's getting yelled at, and I'm laughing my ass off because I am literally in plain sight, but they can't see me because I'm in camouflage. Just fun times, man. Those days when we were younger, man, were just a lot of fun. Good night, Kathleen. Have a good night. And enjoy the day off tomorrow if you're not working. Enjoy the holiday. But so that's the kind of stuff that we used to do as kids. And then me and my buddy Eric, I was a basketball coach, and my dad was the athletic director for a school. So I had keys to the school. It's in Brooklyn. So after hours, we would go into school. Now, mind you, this is the late '80s. So late '80s, early '90s. There aren't cameras like there are everywhere now. So we would go into the school and we would play one-on-one paintball. One person would start in the basement of the school. The other person would start on the third floor of the school. And we would go through. But because we didn't want to leave a trail of paintballs everywhere, you were only allowed two paintballs, one in the gun and one in your pocket to reload. And that's because we had to go clean off the paintballs wherever we shot them. So, and we would hide, ambush each other. We would play paintball one-on-one for hours. That was just a lot of fun too. Besides playing regular paintball in a field with, lots of people. That was a kind of cool thing because I had the keys to the school. I had full access. I was able to get into all the different classrooms. We would hide in the classrooms. Really cool stuff. Now, we never did it during the school year, by the way. We usually did it in the summer when there was no school and the building was pretty much empty, even during the daytime. So we had time to go clean up our paintball messes. But there's that. That was always a lot of fun, But theoretically, being in Brooklyn at the time, paintballs were illegal. I know in New Jersey they were for a while too. Spaceballs. Oh, absolutely, Ron. That movie is hysterical. Nice. Nice. Rambo. You ever watch the Rambo movies now? And they're fun, but they don't hold up. So many of those 80s movies are really bad if you watch them in retrospect. Like, and I'll watch them every time they come on. Roadhouse is one of the worst movies ever, despite the fact that it has great action. Um, you know, to think that there's this network of bouncers who travel from place to place to clean up bars, and everybody, ooh, Dalton's coming. Dalton's going to clean this place up. You know, it's such a ridiculous premise for a movie. You know, but Dalton, the bouncer, he's going to clean up the town. But just so ridiculous. But yet I will watch it every time it's on because, to watch that roundhouse kick that he throws, it's fun. It's fun stuff. It's just so dumb. Yep, I remember that movie. Mm-hmm. Toxic Avenger, all those movies. But those movies are like, they're intentionally bad and made to be fun, you know? Yep. Gareth, are you in the house? Hey, Gareth, what's going on, buddy? So, Gareth, this came in for me this week for the pass around group. I was pretty amazed when this came in because honestly, I didn't think this was nice at all when I saw it on the website. I was like, the look is weird, but man, this feels so good in the hand. In fact, I got to shoot the video on this tomorrow so I can get this off to Casey at Knives Fast because he gets this next in the group. But man, what a really cool knife. But I don't think I'm going to buy one, but for the pass around group, and I would actually recommend it. Just that, you know, after I review it and pass it on, I don't really have a use for it anymore. So I'm not going to shoot any more content with it. But yeah, I will probably shoot the video tomorrow night with that. Tuesday at the latest. Oh, it's a very interesting knife, Sheila. And man, listen to that when that pops out of there. But when I first saw it on the website, it looked weird. I don't know, the pictures didn't do it any justice. But when I saw it in real life, I was like, that's really nice. And I love the big beefy handle and the jimping right here. Even though the jimping's a little slick, you know, because it's got this highly polished face on it. But, oh, definitely. Definitely an acquired taste, you know. Same thing like the Persian blades. You know, a Persian blade, that's not everybody's cup of tea either. You know, I happen to like it, but really cool stuff. So Gareth, what's the weather like now in South Africa? Is it very hot? Just curious, because here in the East Coast, in the Northeast, we're still probably behind on the weather. It's not as warm as it should be. Yeah, Joe, and not everybody does like a Persian blade. In fact, I didn't have a Persian blade until about 2 weeks ago, and then I wound up getting three all at once, not necessarily on purpose. You know, I have this one, and where's the other one? No, is that it? Yeah. So I wound up with three of them, all in the same little span. I got this one, which is the Olitons. It's kind of cool. And then I have this one, which this one was kind of just bought as a kind of joke. I bought it because of the Punisher logo. I love everything Punisher, but man. But this actually turned out to be a really kind of cool knife. But just really cool. But that's an acquired taste. Excuse me, definitely. Wouldn't be my first choice of blades. Excuse me. You know, I am a Wharncliffe, Tanto, and drop point kind of guy. Spear point's okay, clip point's okay. You know, I love a Wharncliffe though. I think a Wharncliffe just looks so damn cool. But that's just me. Oh, that's the Olitons. Oh, there it is. Yeah. It's because I put the CD down. Like, I love this knife that we were looking at before. I love the Wharncliffe on that. You know, something about that blade shape, I just find it very attractive. Not as useful, I think, as a drop point, but man, those look great. No, I don't blame you, Neil. I couldn't resist that either. You know, I've got a bunch of schlocky movies like that. Yeah, Wharncliffe is just like I said. It's my favorite. And then Tantos, I love Tantos. I even like a reverse Tanto, but Tantos are really cool. I prefer the Japanese Tanto over the American style. The Japanese have that slight curve to it, where the American style is straight up. You know, but both are really cool. You know, my North Mountain blades, both chops have the Japanese Tanto. Yes, Gareth, that's a very good way of looking at it. But I could see this being, because one, this thing's built like a tank, and that's no exaggeration. This thing is solid as hell, and look at the thickness of that blade. You know, you got that hollow grind, but just a chunker up there. So this is going to be a hard use, hard work knife, no doubt in my mind. This is definitely a task knife. Oh, absolutely, Lou. 100%. I just like the look of the Japanese Tanto better. You know, let's face it, a lot of what we do with knives isn't necessarily about utility. A lot of it is, does it look cool? You know, there's a coolness factor. So, you know, like for instance, I think this knife from Tactile, it's about as basic as a blade design you can get. But I just think there's something cool looking about it. You know, I love that kind of tactical look. I wish they had made this in a DLC, but you know, you don't see a lot of Magna Cut in DLC anyway. You know, usually stone washed. But but I just love that kind of look, you know. And same with the Militar. Militar is just such a great looking knife. Just so cool. But yeah, again, so much of what we do in the knife community is about the look of the knife as opposed to necessarily the operation of the knife. You know, again, style over functionality. And I'm kind of that way with cars too. For years, I had cars that were more stylish than practical. You know, my first car I had was a Smoking the Bandit Trans Am. Second car I had was a Camaro because I wanted cool looking cars. There's no other way around it. Were they the best performing cars? No. Were they the most reliable? No. But man, they kicked ass. They looked cool, especially when I was in my late teens and early 20s. But now I'm at the point of I like an SUV because it's functional. Yeah, see, and I'm just the opposite. I go for looks first, you know. But that's why we're all different. That's why there's so many knives to choose from. You know, we all have our niche that we love. Now, I don't remember who. I know some of you guys were here last night when I showed off this nonsensical knife. This is a credit card knife. Sinclair makes these. You've got this little tab here, which is the safety. So once you unlock the safety, you can flip the blade out, and then you fold over the handles, or you fold over the top of the card, and then you lock it down, and you have a knife. What's really funny is they put jimping on top. You got this little knife here. You can see the safety tab right there. I wouldn't trust this at all. For years, I kept this in a wallet, you know, just in case I needed to cut something in an emergency and I didn't have a regular knife on me. And I kept this, because it's so thin, in a wallet. And I recently found this in an old wallet that I had that was in my dresser drawer when I was still using big fat wallets. Now I use all the minimalist wallets, but kind of cool though. It is very sharp, I will say that. But, I mean, look at the wobble. You really have to kind of hold it right here. So that way your thumb and your finger are locking it in place, you know. But you can get 3.5 fingers on it that way, you know. Yeah, that's the problem. You can forget about these, you know. That could become a big problem. Lucky thing is they're so cheap that if you did forget it, I would just be like, oh, you could take it, and have them confiscate it, as opposed to putting up any type of fight. And then, you know, it folds back up really small, and you can throw it back in the wallet. Oh yeah, I have one of the Swiss cards. That is actually in one of my. I have that in one of my little survival tins. So, and that's actually pretty functional for what it is, you know. But yeah, I've had that knife card for years, you know. I couldn't even tell you where I got it, but the company that makes them is a legitimate knife company, Sinclair. I don't know where they're out of, but it is a name as opposed to some of the generic knives out there that don't put a name on things. Easy to get yourself in trouble if you're traveling, Rolf. You know. So Wednesday, was it Wednesday? No, was it? Yeah, Wednesday in Big Red's midweek live stream. He was talking about clone knives and the controversies with them. But I have a little bit different of a take on that. I think there are clone knives. I think that's the wrong word. I think there are counterfeit knives. And then there are replicas slash homages. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I'm a watch guy, okay? I'm wearing an Invicta right now. This Invicta is not a counterfeit of a Rolex because it doesn't say Rolex. It says Invicta. This is what they call an homage watch in the watch collector's field. So it's made to look. Gotcha. Gotcha, Gareth. So this is what in the watch field they call an homage because it's not claiming to be a Rolex. Where in the knife field we have fake Spydercos, we have fake Benchmades that look exactly the same. They've copied the logo. Those are counterfeits. They're not clones, okay? This, to me, is a clone. This is Ganzo's version of the Ontario Rat 2. And why is this a clone? I mean, why is this an homage as opposed to a counterfeit? Because one, it says Ganzo clearly on there. They're not trying to convince you that this is a rat. And they changed the lock. They added a bar lock on this, an access lock, as opposed to a liner lock. So yes, the handle shape is exactly the same. The blade shape is exactly the same. But they changed it enough so that way it's not a counterfeit. And I think that needs to be where the line gets drawn. In the guitar industry, I will give you a good for instance. All right, this guitar here, is made by Sterling. This is a copy of Eddie Van Halen's Music Man, okay? But it's not a counterfeit. It says sub on there because it's part of the Sterling brand. No one's going to think that this is a Music Man. They're going to know this is a Sterling. So that is an homage. That's a replica. Or I shouldn't say it. That's an homage. In the guitar industry, you have counterfeit guitars that look like Fenders and look like Gibsons, but they're made in China, and we refer to them as Chibsons because it's a Chinese-made Gibson. It's fake. It's a counterfeit. And I think that's where we need to kind of stop calling things clones, because they're not clones. They're counterfeits. That's the word we should use. If it's an exact looking knife, it's a counterfeit. If it's designed to look like something, it's an homage. Two different, very big different things. You know, and I know people are going to say, well, the knife industry is different than the watch industry, you know. Yes, absolutely, Neil. But in some cases, and I know people are going to hate this, I've seen Chibsons that are so good and that come at the $4 price point, and they are dead spot on for the $3,000 Gibson. And I get why people do it. Does it make it right? No, but I absolutely get it. Some people just can't afford that $3,000 Gibson guitar, and they want that look. Especially, I know guys who are, I'll give you a good for instance, Slash from Guns N' Roses. The guitar you see him using on the Appetite for Destruction video and all the early Guns N' Roses work, it's not a Gibson. It's an Italian knockoff by a company called Greco. But it doesn't make a difference. Yes, exactly. He's that first one he used wasn't a Gibson. It was a copy. And now he's using Gibsons because they endorsed him, and they actually took that guitar, which is really funny, and they made exact replicas for him. You know, in the guitar industry, counterfeit guitars are really, really running rampant. You know, there's a channel I watch, Know Your Gear. And Phil, what he'll do is if counterfeits come across his shop, he'll talk to the people who own it and be like, hey, listen, this is a counterfeit. I'm willing to work on it, do everything you need for it, but I want to stamp it on the back fake. And he does that. Yeah, you have to be real careful. Like you know, having been around guitars since 1986, I can spot them, but man, you got to go really over it with a fine-tooth comb to see some of the difference. Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Epiphone, although still a Gibson company, they're licensed copies of Gibsons. You know, the only difference is that they don't try to fool you. They stamp Epiphone on it, and they make the headstock slightly different. Where Fender has the Squire line looks exactly like the Fender line, other than the name that says Squire. And then, of course, once you start to break it down, you realize that the parts are a lot cheaper, a lot lesser in quality. But let me tell you something. I've got some Squires that play just as well as my top end Fenders. And did they start out that way? No. But after fine tuning them, changing tuners and whatnot, changing pickups, I got some seriously great ones. Yes, exactly. But oh, so like getting back to like, I get why some people will buy some of the Chipsons. Especially, I know a lot of working musicians. This is getting back to my point. I know a lot of working musicians who are very fearful of having their gear stolen because anybody who's played a lot of gigs at some point or another has their gear stolen. I don't care how you slice it. It happens to every band who's been around for any length of time, you know. So I know a lot of guys who use replica guitars and keep their real ones at home, and they're insured, you know, for the ones at home. But the ones they're using on the road, if they get stolen, all right. So they stole a $300 guitar, which still hurts, but it doesn't hurt as if you were losing a $3,000. Oh yeah, the Hondo twos. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, there's that whole thing about the lawsuit guitars from the late '70s, where Ibanez got sued by Gibson, and a lot of people mislabel Japanese guitars from that time period as lawsuit guitars, but they're not. The only ones that are actually lawsuit guitars are the Ibanez's because that's who got sued. The other one, all the other companies got scared after Ibanez got sued and started changing them. That's why you don't see the same headstocks. That you could have a guitar that looks exactly the same, but the headstock's different. You know, but I mean, hell, I've got different companies' versions. Like I have a Greco version of an SG over there, and it plays amazingly well. You know, but the thing about that too is virtually none of my guitars are stock. Yeah, absolutely. My number one Strat over there is a Japanese Strat, and I will never give that up. I also won't ever leave the house with it because it's in such pristine condition. I've had that since 1992, and I've never gigged with it. I've only used that in a recording studio. That will never leave because it's that old and still doesn't have a scratch. Where like my '78 Ibanez over there is all beaten to shit because that was actually used on stage a lot. You know, I have a couple of those are my safe queens, as we call them in the knife industry. You know, they're never leaving. So take that for what it is. You know, for that I have other lower tiered strats, but that one, man, it sounds great. The other one that doesn't leave is the '73 Strat. And that's just because it's such a rare guitar that will never leave the house. You know. All right, we're almost about time to wrap up. We're just about hitting 2 hours, and I don't want to go to bed miserably late like I did last night. So it's getting close to 1 a.m. Well, Neil, I don't really have a preference with straps. I've got so many straps. I'm not kidding. In that closet, you guys know at one point I had 48 guitars. I think I've sold 13 in the last few months, but I have to have probably 20, 30 different straps. And I use them for different guitars. You know, I've got studded ones that are with my real, like my BC Rich Warlocks and my BC Rich Bitches. Those studded metal ones just complete the look. Those wouldn't go well with my Strats or my Les Pauls. You know, I have my Ace Frehley model. Me being the big giant Kiss fan that I am, my Ace Frehley model. Um, you know, uh, and on that I have the original Gibson lightning bolt Strat, just like Ace used to use. You know, so different straps for different reasons. You know, I'm not one. The only one that I will say I favor over everyone is my DiMarzio strap lock system. I have that on my '92 Strat because that's a large headstock Yngwie Malmsteen Strat. Um, and that was the strap he uses. He uses the you know the leopard print DiMarzio, and that's what I have on there. Oh, absolutely. I am a matchy person when it comes to that. You know, just like my motorcycle gear. My motorcycle gear all matches to my bike. And depending on which bike we're riding, there's different sets of gear. You know, some people say I look like a big Power Ranger, but I'm willing to take that. Yeah. But one thing about the DiMarzio strap locks, you know, the strap lock system, is that you can't swap them from guitar to guitar. It's just they're locked in there. You know, you can clip them to others, but it's not the same. You know, I do like having strap locks though because I've had guitars fall off their straps. You know, especially back in the old days when I was doing stupid things like throwing guitars up in the air, spinning them around my neck, and all that good fun stuff. You know, which may be why I have a constant problem in my neck now. But who knows? All right, guys. Guys and gals, I don't want to say just guys, but I want to thank everybody for being here and be safe tomorrow. Enjoy the holiday. I'm going to get going. Enjoy your barbecues, whatever else you're doing. Like I said, be safe. I love all of you, and I will probably see you in Rob's Dirty Knives late tomorrow if I get home in time. You know, if I am home during the day, I'll jump on with Ron if he's on. You know, I don't know what, like I said, we're going to be out running around. So, but you guys all have a great night. Like I said, I appreciate every last person who came in, commented. This was a fun one. We did a lot of other stuff besides knife talk, and that's kind of cool too. So, all right, everybody. As I always say, let's pull out a knife here. Until we meet again, keep your blade sharp. Good night, everybody. Enjoy.